If a man says these 5 things to you, walk away immediately, because words reveal character and character determines the quality of your life. The first is, you're too sensitive. What he's really saying is, your feelings don't matter. He's not interested in hearing you. He's interested in silencing you. When someone dismisses your emotions, they're not just disregarding the moment. They're erasing your humanity. And that's a red flag that will only grow bigger with time. When a man tells you that you are too sensitive, what he is really doing is shifting the spotlight away from his own actions and putting the weight of blame onto your shoulders. He wants you to believe that the problem isn't his words, his behavior, or the way he treated you, but rather the way you reacted to it. This is not an accident. It's intentional. It's a pattern that keeps you second-guessing yourself. It makes you wonder if maybe you did overreact. Maybe you should have been quieter. Maybe you should have laughed it off instead of feeling hurt. That thought alone is the trap, because sensitivity is not weakness. Sensitivity is awareness. It is empathy. It is your ability to notice when something doesn't sit right. And when someone tries to turn that into a flaw, what they're actually saying is, I don't want to be held accountable. I don't want to look at my actions. I don't want to change. Instead, I'd rather change you. Think about how dangerous that is, because every time you start believing him, you make yourself smaller. You begin to tell yourself, I'll keep quiet, I'll laugh at the jokes that sting, I'll let the disrespect slide so he doesn't think I'm making it a big deal. And in the process, you chip away pieces of yourself. Little by little, your voice grows softer, your spirit grows quieter, and the vibrant person you once were starts to fade. That's not love, that's control dressed up as criticism. A man who truly loves you doesn't silence your emotions. He leans in to hear them. He wants to understand why you feel the way you feel, because your feelings matter to him. They matter because you matter. But when he says you're too sensitive, what he's really teaching you is to doubt your own reality. He wants you to rewrite the way you see things. He wants you to believe that the things that hurt you should not hurt you. And if they do, it's because you're flawed, not because he crossed a line. And once you start questioning whether you can even trust your own emotions, he's got you exactly where he wants you, dependent on his version of reality. That's the first step in manipulation. Now let's look at the second phrase, that never happened. That right there is not just dismissal, it is distortion. It's gaslighting. It's rewriting the past so he doesn't have to face the truth in the present. When you bring up something he said, something he did, something that made you feel disrespected, and he looks at you with a straight face and says, that never happened, he's not just denying the event. He's denying your memory, your clarity, your ability to trust yourself. And the more he does it, the more you begin to wonder if maybe you got it wrong. Maybe you remembered incorrectly. Maybe your mind is playing tricks on you. That's exactly what he wants. He wants you confused. Because a confused person is easier to control than a confident one. This is the kind of tactic that doesn't show its full damage right away. At first, it feels like an argument, a disagreement about the details, a difference of memory. But over time, you notice something darker happening. You start second guessing yourself before you even speak. You rehearse conversations in your head, wondering if you're strong enough to handle him twisting it around. You start writing things down, saving messages, taking mental notes of dates and words, just to remind yourself that you're not crazy. And why? Because he keeps telling you that things didn't happen the way you saw them. Imagine the mental toll that takes. Imagine living in a world where you can't trust the person in front of you, and now you're starting to question if you can even trust yourself. That's the weight of gaslighting. And here's the deeper truth. Both of these statements, whether it's you're too sensitive or that never happened, are two sides of the same coin. They are both about erasing your voice. One erases your emotions, the other erases your reality. One says, don't feel what you feel. The other says, don't believe what you know. Both are meant to keep you in a position where your perspective never matters. Because if he can silence your emotions and erase your memories, what's left? A relationship where only his voice exists. Only his version of the truth is allowed to stand. And that is not a partnership, that is control. Healthy love doesn't operate this way. A healthy man, when confronted with your feelings, doesn't say you're too sensitive. He says, tell me more. He doesn't roll his eyes when you say you were hurt. He leans in to understand how his actions affected you. He doesn't fight against your reality, he listens to it. He may not always agree with your perspective, but he respects that it's yours and it matters. Because at the end of the day, respect is not about agreeing on everything. It's about valuing the other person enough to hear them, to acknowledge them, to honor their truth. When a man repeatedly tells you that you're too sensitive or that never happened, he is showing you that he does not respect your truth. And once respect is gone, everything else will follow. Trust will crumble. Safety will disappear. Joy will turn into tension. You'll find yourself walking on eggshells, managing his moods, constantly wondering if you're about to be told again that your feelings are invalid or your memories are false. That is not the life you are meant to live. That is not the love you deserve. When a man says to you that you're lucky to have him, he's not giving you a compliment. He's planting a seed of hierarchy in your relationship. He's telling you that he is above you, that the balance of gratitude is tipped in his favor, that you should be thankful every day he chose you, instead of realizing he should also be thankful you chose him. It's not confidence. It's arrogance wrapped in charm. Real confidence doesn't need to elevate itself by putting someone else beneath it. Real confidence is secure enough to see worth in both people and to celebrate that equality. When a man insists that you're the lucky one, what he's really saying is, I want you to always remember that you owe me, that you should settle for what I give, that I don't have to grow, because in my mind, you can't do better than me. The danger in this type of statement is how it starts to eat away at your sense of self. At first, you may brush it off as a joke, as him teasing, as harmless pride, but repeated words have power. Over time, you start to wonder if maybe he's right. Maybe you really are lucky because who else would put up with you? Who else would stay? Who else would find value in the places you think are broken? And the more you believe that story, the less you'll demand from him. You'll start to shrink your standards. You'll stop asking for more. You'll stop pointing out what hurts, because after all, if you're lucky just to have him, then what right do you have to ask for better? That is how control works, not through chains you can see, but through beliefs you begin to carry quietly in your heart now. Let's talk about the phrase, nobody else would want you. That's not arrogance, that's insecurity with claws. That's manipulation in its purest form. When a man tells you nobody else would want you, he's not describing you, he's describing his fear of losing you. He knows your value, but he doesn't want you to know it. Because the moment you realize your worth, the moment you understand that there are countless people who would love the chance to treat you better, his power slips away. So he tries to cage you by convincing you you're unlovable. Think about how cruel that is. Love is supposed to lift, but here he is using the very opposite of love to bind you. It's not affection, it's control. This type of phrase works like poison. It seeps slowly into the mind. He says it when you argue. He says it when you try to stand up for yourself. He says it when you consider leaving. Each time it lands, it carves a little deeper into your sense of self-worth. And before long, you might start looking in the mirror differently. You might start believing his voice over your own. You might start thinking that if he says nobody else would want you, maybe he's right. Maybe you should stay. Maybe you should keep quiet. Maybe you should accept less, because something inside you must be unworthy. That's how he keeps you tied. Not with love, not with loyalty, but with fear and doubt. But here's the truth he doesn't want you to know. People who truly see you, who value you, who respect you, they would want you exactly as you are. They would cherish the qualities he tries to dim. They would admire the strength he tries to call stubbornness. They would celebrate the sensitivity he tries to call weakness. There are countless people who would see you as a gift, but he doesn't want you to see that possibility, because then you might realize you don't need to stay under his control. That's why he repeats the lie. That's why he wants it to echo in your head long after the conversation ends. Because if you carry his words inside you, you carry his chains too. The connection between you're lucky to have me and nobody else would want you is important to understand. They may sound different, but they are both meant to do the same thing. Lower your sense of value so he can raise his. One uses arrogance to make himself the prize. The other uses insecurity to make you believe you're worthless. Either way, the result is the same. You feel small, he feels big, and the balance of power tilts completely in his favor. Relationships built on that kind of imbalance are not partnerships, they are prisons. And the bars are invisible, made of words, made of repeated narratives that trap you in a cycle of self-doubt. A man who loves you never needs to make you feel lucky just to keep you. A man who loves you never tries to convince you that you are unwanted outside of him. He knows that love is not a competition of worth, but a celebration of two people choosing each other freely, with respect and gratitude flowing both ways. He knows that if he has to tear you down to keep you close, then what he has isn't love, it's fear. And fear is not enough to sustain anything healthy. So when those words come, pay attention. They are not slips of the tongue, they are glimpses into mindset. A man who believes you're lucky to have him has already decided he doesn't need to grow because he thinks he's the finish line. A man who tells you nobody else would want you has already decided that controlling you matters more than cherishing you. Both of those beliefs lead to the same destination. A relationship where you are never fully valued, where you are constantly diminished, where you give more than you get, where love becomes survival instead of sanctuary.